everybody, and welcome back to the Theology of Rhythm podcast. My name is Reagan Cannington. I hope you're all doing well. I know I am. We're just coming up on the end of school. Really, we're almost done. I've got a week left. So, yeah, I hope you all had a good Easter, and I'm glad to be back again doing another episode. I enjoy doing these, and I enjoy hearing what y'all have to say, and glad y'all are listening, and it means a lot to me. But yeah, today we have a cool topic that I wanted to talk about. All the episodes so far have been pretty theological and centered around more biblical worship and things like that. This one we're going to be taking a more practical, looking at a more practical question. Not that it doesn't have to do with anything theological or spiritual. It definitely does, but it definitely ties into a lot of the things talked about on the other shows. The idea for today is how can we think and play like an MD or a music director, the music director mindset. So a lot of worship musicians will come into the set, thinking, what do I need to play? What is my part? How am I going to fit into the band? Drummers, what's the groove on this one? Bass players know the chords. Almost everybody on stage is knowing the chords. Besides the drummer doesn't really need to. But the MD mindset is thinking about everybody. That's one of the biggest things. Thinking about everybody's part. You're thinking about what's the bass doing? What's the guitar doing? What's the drums doing? How's it all going to cohesively fit together? Because if everybody comes in thinking, I'm going to play my part and do my thing, it can sound a little disjointed. If the bass player isn't hitting with the kick drum from the drummer, if the keys player and the guitarist are both playing the lead line at the same time, that can sound messy if it's done wrong. So thinking that like that, if the vocalists are off time, not listening to the drums to keep the time, you got to think about the band as a whole. So you're listening for arrangement, dynamics, transitions, energy. You want to work together as a team. But being on stage is not an individual sport by any means. It is probably the most team thing that you have to do all week, You go to work or school, and it's a lot of just what do I need to do? What do I need to get done for this place or whatever? But it's on Sunday mornings. It is entirely a team effort. So think less about the part and more about the moment. What's happening in the moment. 3 things you can ask with the MD mindset. Who's leading right now? Is it vocalist 1, 2, or 3? Because that can shift things. If it's a female vocalist and she's kind of higher up singing, you might want to play your lead line an octave down so that you're not battling her in those high frequencies. What's missing? Is there not enough bass? Does the bass player need to kind of kick it up a little bit? Are the drums not building up like they need to? Are the vocalists kind of missing out on the moment? Or is it too much? Is the drummer slamming it when he really just needs to kind of pull back? Is the guitarist at max gain on the first verse, If everyone is at 10, no one's going to be standing out, And you want there to be moments of that. You want there to be the vocalist is standing out right now, or the drums are standing out right now. The keys are in instrumental parts, So, as an MD, you also need to be thinking about leaving space. How can we create space in the moment, in transition, in certain parts of the song? I know at my church, we take certain songs and we'll extend verses, or the space between the verses. Or what we'll do is we'll even repeat the verse to have impact, emphasis, make sure that the words are nailed down in that. Verse is blown through one time, it might be like, okay, we're on to the next verse. But if you repeat it, people are going to remember it and think about it. So that's what an MD thinks about. How can we better serve the people in doing this? Because as the music director, you're directing the music. You want to create those moments so that people can see what's happening. And in that, you're taking the song, you're flowing it to something. So the song is not just a stop-start, and I've played at churches where it is. It's not just like we play the first beat and then we trash can on the last beat. I kind of hate that, to be honest. I don't love that, because at my church we were not using tracks for the longest time. It was just an open click, and we were able to blend songs super well. We were able to do cool transitions, because we just had the same tempo going the whole time. But now we do use tracks, and it has taken some time, taken some working through with it, different ideas from different people, and we're able to do back to what we were doing. We hired a new music director, and he's able to step in and figure the things out that we were doing before he stepped on. But at churches I played at, it's just like we start on verse 1, and at the last chorus we trash can, and then it's the next song. There's no idea of a flow of a. It's almost like you're listening to music in the car, right? There's a stop and there's a start, and obviously that's how it has to be when you're listening to music. But it's like there's a stop and start. But if you go to a real concert, that you pay money to go see an artist play, you go see 21 Pilots. Their song transitions are incredible, and you want to take that kind of professionalism and musical ability, musicality into church. It shows how God has instilled in us this creativity to make these song transitions or make this certain type of music that can in the end glorify Him. He's given us this talent that we give back to Him, right? And so that's what you want to do as an MD, is you want to help this flow of music. It's not like driving a car where it stops and starts at every red light. It's like you're cruising. Sometimes you slow down, sometimes you push, but it's like that. As an MD, you also want to create a certain musical feel for certain parts. The bridge is an excellent place to have this. Do you want the bridge to stick out and be there, or do you want it to be the last chorus? Do you want to include a drum break in it for emphasis? Do you want to have a dropout? There's so many different things as a music director that you can come up with to make the songs flow and create emphasis in certain parts. I'll tell you, on Easter, we did this one chord progression where it was on King of Kings, and it says, praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, 3 in 1, God of glory, majesty. We hit on majesty, and we did a complex chord progression that involved a sharp 5 of all things. And it's like that part stuck out, because in the original recording that most people know, there is no hits on that part, and there is no funky chords like we played. And so that made that stick out for the people, made it stick out for us, shows God's majesty, because that's what we're hitting on. We're accenting that part. And that's what you want to do as an MD, is lead people to see the certain parts of the songs that you're playing. And so this is one way that we can differentiate ourselves from just secular music artists doing song transitions or musical things like this, is because we know what mindset it comes from. It comes from order and intentionality. We're trying to lead people. 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, let all things be done decently and in order. And so you're not like controlling the worship of like, this is how the people are going to worship, this is how things are going to happen. And I know there are churches out there that are. I saw a church one time say that they do mock church on Thursday night, which I think is very cool. I mean, I like the idea of that. They basically they rehearse all the worship songs, which we do on Tuesday nights. And I enjoy that because we work through a lot of these song transition things that I'm talking about. But this church, they said they do mock church on Thursday night where they play the songs, the pastor goes through his sermon and all the sermon slides, sermon notes, all the things, and then they finish up and they just run through everything. And they have basically Sunday morning on Thursday night, which I think is perfect. That's cool. But one thing that he said that didn't sit right with me was he said, so we know exactly what's going to happen on Sunday night. He's like, nothing's going to change. He's like, we know exactly what's going to happen. And it's like, okay, dude, like, that just leaves room for the Spirit to not move. That doesn't open you up for the mindset of, like, what can God do today? It's like, this is what is going to happen. I wasn't a fan of that. And so all these things I'm saying are not that. It is not to put down, like, this is the law of worship and these are the songs that we're going to do. It's just to show you that this is what God has given us, this creativity and musical ability. We should shepherd it well in knowing what's going on. And so that also leads into, as an MD, you have to be able to work on the spot, you know? And even as an instrumentalist or if you're on vocals, you have to be able to follow well from the MD. And so as an MD, when you're leading and say the worship leader goes out into a different song, you have to know the chords. You have to be able to figure it out and call it out for the rest of the band that might not know it. And then you have to be able to say, where are we going to take this moment? One tag that we do a lot at my church is we do the bridge of Christ Be Magnified. And so the worship leader, or the MD, every time has to say, okay, here's where we're going to take it. We're either we're going to repeat it or we're not going to repeat it. Build it up right here. That's what he says every week. He says we're going to do this. He's like, when we have a section that's more spontaneous, it's going to lead this way. It's going to lead that way. We'll keep it down, bring it up. Depending on time, what the moment feels like. If it's a song that's if it's Amazing Grace, we're probably not going to build it up. But if, say, he started singing the bridge of Graves into Gardens, yeah, we're probably going to build that up. And so you have to use discernment and your own musical knowledge of how are these things going to fit? How are the musicians going to fit together in this? How can I, from this microphone, lead this whole stage of people in the same direction? So those are things you have to be thinking about before Sunday, and especially before Saturday. And so think about these things. Go into worship with the MD mindset of what's everyone doing, how's the flow of this going to be, not what's going on with me, what's going on with just me and bass. You know, as a drummer, you want to be in lock with the bassist. Vocalist, y'all want to be locked in with each other, and that's perfectly acceptable. Like, do that, but also be thinking, how is the band working as a whole, and how can I be following well or leading well? If you're MD from drumming, our MD is always the piano player, and so how can you be leading well, following well? If you're worship leading, how can you lead and follow at the same time? I'm sorry. All musicians are worship leaders. We know this. That's the thesis statement of Theology of Rhythm. But if you are on the front line and you are a vocalist, how can you follow and lead well at the same time? Obviously. But yeah. So these are things to think about. Don't be on autopilot of, I know how the song is going to go because I've studied the composition and I just know the parts. Don't be on that. Be ready to move. Be ready to do something different. If you have one part picked out in mind and the MD says, hey, we're actually going to we're gonna beef up this part. You know, you plan on just playing like 2 and 4, 2 and 4, and he's like actually like thicken it up a little bit more. You got to be able to like push into that, you know. And even following the worship leader, even if the MD isn't calling stuff out, if the worship leader's like, give me more, or like repeat that part, you got to do that again. I saw a video the other day of Joel Barber. This was cool. I like that guy. He sings for Bethel now. He's like new on their staff, and oh my gosh, he's got the thickest accent in the world. He did What a God into Awesome God. I'm sure some of y'all have seen that, and it was really cool. But I saw a video of him singing a different song. I didn't know it. But he's leading and also telling the band what to do. He's singing the song, and as he's doing it, he's like putting the chords out on his hands like this with his left hand, and he's singing and doing the chords at the same time. That's very impressive, very musical. Guy knows what he's doing. Shows that he is band-minded, band-oriented, thinking about the moment, thinking about leading, but also getting everyone on stage on the same page. You know what I mean? That rhymed. But think about these things. Go into Sunday not just worried about what's going on. And trust me, the sound guy is thinking about this too, you know? Not just the band. The sound guy is, how can I, where am I going to push up the sliders and EQ it right so that the band sounds the most full here, and then when they die back down, everything falls in line. Everybody's thinking about this, and I suggest you do too. So that's all I have for you today. We do have an announcement. This is the first week of summer, and it is the first week of Theology of Rhythm every week. So be ready for an episode every single week of the summer. And yeah, so we got a lot of topics coming up that I'm excited about. If you have any topics that you want me to do, please DM me on Instagram or comment or anything. Please just let me know. I've been posting shorts. Hopefully y'all have been liking those. I've been liking those. But yeah, let me know. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Again, my name is Reagan Cannington. You can find me on all socials under that name. And yeah, hope y'all have a good one. See ya.